Aloha, everybody. This is Cathy Bilsky, the Quantum Leap Let Light Unite show on UPRN Radio, and this is July 31st, 2020. I've got a really good show for you tonight. We are going to talk to Susan DeCoste about Faraday bags and radiation protection and, how we can protect ourselves from being trapped and all that good stuff. And before I bring her on, I just want to say, guys, if you missed my show last week, it was because I wasn't on. It was my birthday. And for my birthday, I treated myself to, they have what's called a dolphin quest out here in Hawaii, where you can actually swim with the tame dolphins in a lagoon. And I swim with the wild dolphins all the time. But those guys, I don't even dream of touching them. First off, they're too fast. But, I honor the wild ones. So they will play with me and they will swim around me and they know they're getting their pictures taken, but it's nothing like touching them. So like I said, I went with a couple girlfriends and treated myself to this. And if you ever get the chance to come out to Hawaii when we're not quarantined, you need to do the dolphin quest. I mean, to be able to touch them and there's an energy exchange and they play with you and they even get to drag you around the pool a little bit. So, I'm still on the dolphin high. And if you go to Cathy Bilsky on my Facebook page, you can still see some of the pictures if you want. So, Susan, I am so glad you are joining me tonight.
Thanks so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And your company is EDEC?
Yep, we are EDEC Digital Forensics. We go by
challenge. Okay. So what does digital forensic mean?
So EDEC started a little over 12 years ago, around 12 years ago, as a digital forensics company. So we had software and hardware that we sold to the law enforcement community. To one of the hardware pieces would extract cell phone data. So when police would confiscate cell phones at crime scenes or other situations, and they needed to get data out of the phones, we had some software that could help assist them with that. And what we noticed is they were carrying the phones and things that they were confiscating in paint cans. And I'll explain a little bit about that. That's the Faraday bag effect, or the Faraday cage effect. It helps.
A paint can.
Yeah, because it's metal. It was able to, they could put the phone or device inside and no signals would go in or out. And they needed to do this even way back then. The phones weren't super smartphones like they are now. But even if they were to receive a call during transport of the evidence, it can be considered tampering with evidence. So they really needed to lock them down. And so as we noticed this, we thought we could definitely make something lighter weight, more portable, a lot easier for them to use. And that's how we started making the Faraday bags, which are now such a large part of what we do sell.
What is a Faraday bag?
Okay, so the name comes from a scientist, Michael Faraday. In the 1800s, he studied electromagnetism, among other things. And he discovered that an enclosure made of a covering of conductive material, a continuous covering, could be used to block magnetic fields. So they used it initially, that discovery turned into what they call the Faraday cage. And they used it to protect like sensitive electronic equipment from external radio interference when they were testing or alignment of devices, in the science world. And so that theory, that's why these Faraday bags, which is what we make now, are using that same theory. So there's material inside the bag that is embedded with copper and nickel is embedded into the material. So throughout, yep, that goldish material is Faraday material. And they put it into a solution with copper and nickel, and they charge it, and that gets the copper and nickel all throughout the material. And so that serves the same purpose as like a paint can, a tin can. It blocks the signals from coming in and prevents them from going out. But it's much easier, obviously, to carry around.
Well, I have to say I love mine, and it's one reason why I asked you to come and explain to everybody what it is.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be truthful, I understand cell phone radiation, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. And I'm really concerned about being tracked. Yep. I don't want to be tracked, and I'm not going to be tracked because of COVID. It's just not going to happen. So when I first decided I wasn't going to do this, and I went online, all I could find was this big lead box. Okay, which was, like you said,
that'll work.
Practical. It's like carrying the paint can around, right?
Exactly.
Although that's a really great idea.
Yeah.
So when I saw you guys, I went, oh my God, this is awesome. And I do sell them at my store. And what's really fun is when I'm sharing with people what it is and how they work, and they're like, oh, show me, right? And it's like, okay. So I have them all you do is you put your phone in the bag, okay? Yep. And there's little Velcro. You fold it over, and nothing gets in. And when these people, they usually come in pairs. Mm-hmm. And I'll have one person, I go, well, go call them. And when they do, nothing.
Yep.
So because I live in Hawaii, and, I'm very private what I do, but there's times I don't want anyone to know where I'm at.
That's right.
And if I choose to go to the ocean kayaking, I don't want to be tracked or let anybody know. Yet, instead of leaving my cell phone at home, which a normal person would do if you don't want to be tracked, I can put it in my Faraday bag, take it with me, and I can still have it for emergencies.
Yep. And you're not turning it off and on. And although even turning phones off, there's still some potential for issues. But yeah, it makes it easy. You can just put it in the bag, pull it out of the bag when you need it.
And it immediately connects to whatever, cell phone towers out there, and I use it. So
it's been interesting to see the transition. Obviously, we still sell many bags to law enforcement, military, government, Department of Defense, FBI, because they all use them for missions and evidence and things like that. But to have seen sort of the consumer interest over the past 5 years or so, and now more so than ever with things like contact tracing and COVID and stuff like that. And frankly, cyber criminals are becoming more and more adept at finding ways to access devices and steal data. So, the hacking can be an issue. Say if you're walking through an airport, when you leave your Wi-Fi going, say you've already hooked up to the LAX, Los Angeles Airport Wi-Fi once, your phone will try to do it every time you're there if you forget to, take the password out or whatever. So cyber criminals can actually make a Wi-Fi hotspot that looks like it's LAX, and your phone might connect directly because it's always sending signals out trying to ping. So it can get connected to something and people can steal your data that way.
Oh, that is creepy. I never thought that.
Yeah, there's a lot of that kind of stuff that we do have a lot of people who travel a lot, especially if they're traveling in foreign countries and things like that, because, who knows what's going on. Mm-hmm. So it's like a fraudulent access point that they can set up.
This reminds me of how we're able to use it to when they finally let us have caller ID on our phones. Yeah.
Yep.
But what's nice about the bags too is that if you are traveling, you can put your wallet in there. There's enough room, depending on how big your wallet is, or your, passport, your credit cards, and nobody's going to read them.
Right. That's exactly right. It's great that there's extra space in there. We also have larger bags. I'll show you some more bags here in a bit. But something else I wanted to mention about our phones is apps that we download, like you were talking about tracking. The permissions that we give apps, if you're not necessarily going in and like undoing all those permissions. I was just reading a story about a restaurant in Canada that had an issue that it was tracking their customers to see if they were going to its competitors. So it seems like innocent, a lot of this stuff, but they have all that data and they have access to where you're going, and it's just a restaurant app or whatever that you have on your phone. So it's things people are concerned about.
It's very intrusive.
Yeah, exactly. And if it's hard to keep on top of all of that stuff, like it's easy to not turn the permissions off or whatever.
Well, you're also sharing things with us that I have no clue over. I mean, trust me, next time, whenever I get back to flying,
yeah.
I'm going to be much more careful about using that.
Yeah.
And how can you actually tell? Is there a way
I would have to actually, our engineer might know. I don't know. I'm not sure that you can. Especially the open Wi-Fi's like airport, Starbucks. It's just, you just might not. I don't know. I'm not sure.
Wow, Starbucks. I mean,
yep.
all of it.
all the free Wi-Fi.
Sometimes they're the only place to get Wi-Fi, and why, right? You got to get out of Starbucks or get close enough so you get a connection. Right. Gosh. But I wanted to ask you,
Sure.
Let's get back to the material. And, what does thermo-welded mean?
Oh, okay. So that is actually specific to our off-grid bags, which I have one here. I'm not sure if you guys can see it.
Uh-huh.
So the one that you have is our utility bag. And that's our original bag. And it's the one we sell a lot of to law enforcement and military, and also to general consumers. And in the last couple of years, we wanted to develop a bag sort of that would be more future-proof as signals get stronger and, change. Like now we have 5G coming out and things like that. So we developed a bag that has the same material that you have in that one, that the gold 4 layers of the raw Faraday material. And this one actually has an additional layer on top that is also Faraday. It's more of a fabric. And we added that for additional shielding and also to help with wear and tear on the raw Faraday material, because over time it can get, with a lot of in and out, or if you get any sharp objects or anything in there, that material can wear over time. So we wanted to kind of help protect that with the new bags. And then the bag you have is sewn. So it's a stitched bag. And the thermo welding prevents the stitching on these. So it's 2 pieces of material. The 2 exterior pieces are placed together on a plate, a charged plate, and it's flattened.
Okay.
And heat is applied. And then it basically not melts, but puts those 2 pieces of fabric come together as if they're one piece. It's done a lot in waterproof clothing and jackets and stuff like that, because it offers waterproofing and weatherproofing too. So we wanted to add that to these bags because the ballistic nylon of the one that you have doesn't, unfortunately, is not waterproof. But you'd have to soak it pretty heavy, I think, to to ruin it.
Yeah, but I do want to share that with the bag I have, it still blocks out 5G.
Yes, it absolutely. All bags, both lines of bags do.
It's like the Honda.
Exactly.
I have the Honda bag, and you have the more Cadillac bag, right?
Yeah, it's the same bag with a slightly different construction. Same blocking, same signal blocking and electromagnetic signal blocking. But yeah, just a different construction, and that's what we were going for with that.
So if it's raining, you want to keep it inside your coat and not
Yes.
let it get.
Yes, I mean, it would take a lot to soak it, I think, but yeah.
Okay, well, good to know. Let's see. So we talked about some of the things that the Faraday bags do block, especially for the cell phone. So not only does it keep out all the extra 5G and the frequencies and all that good stuff, but it also blocks the radiation that comes out of the phone.
That's absolutely right, which is that electromagnetic radiation, frequency radiation. So it's because phones are constantly, it's sending out, and they're also coming into the phone, like the Wi-Fi and the cell and all of that. So yeah, the phones are always putting that out, and all devices that use those kinds of signals, GPS and stuff like that. Oh, GPS isn't done that way, but Wi-Fi and cell. And Bluetooth.
Well, I don't think people realize how that can harm them. Like if a young man puts that cell phone in his back pocket, that it can make him go sterile. Mm-hmm. And if you put it in your breast pocket, it can also give you breast cancer.
Yeah, there are a lot of people with health concerns, people who are electromagnetic hypersensitivity too, which you've probably heard of. And I know there were a lot of issues with smart meters when those came out for the electrical. There's Wi-Fi kind of giving your information out. So the material, we do sell like the material on its own as just plain old material. And we have people do purchase that for things like lining a wall right behind a smart meter to help dampen and reduce that radiation coming from the smart meters. So
what would happen if you took a Faraday bag and put it right over the smart meter?
It would still work, because you have to have something completely enclosed around it to block.
Oh
yeah. So the material, it by itself, or if the bag were open, it would definitely dampen those signals and reduce, but it's not going to completely block it unless it's totally enclosed.
Okay. Now, I was wondering, if I bought some cloth, what would happen if I put it inside the roof of my car?
It would similarly, it will dampen any kind of, although your car with metal is probably okay. The roof is probably going to help with that. But yeah, you can use it for things like that. I actually had a guy called recently who actually lined the drawer of his nightstand with it, because he had his phone sitting right there at night. He didn't want to turn it off, but he wanted to kind of prevent that from being right at his head while he slept. So yeah, it will dampen signals. It won't block though, unless it only blocks completely when it's enclosed in a container like idea.
Okay, well, since we're talking about blocking, I bought one for my iPad.
The large.
Yeah. But the iPad fits perfect.
Perfect.
What I want to know is, I listen to a lot of Spotify music. And if I put it in the bag and fold it up and leave a little bit it connected to my car, can I still play Spotify? Would it come through?
It might, if there's a cord coming out, there might be enough leakage where it will play, since that's something that's coming through Wi-Fi or through the cell.
Well, but if it was downloaded,
you can actually play. The bags do not block sound.
Okay.
So yeah, so I had another guy I had recently who asked that same question. He wanted to have it in his phone by his bed, but would his alarm go off? And yeah, if you set an alarm, it will still go off.
Okay. Okay.
So yeah, if it's downloaded and you're playing, it should play.
But it doesn't hurt.
No.
At all.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
Cool. Good.
Yep.
Well, it's little, it's like the accessories.
Yeah, that's
right. It's practical application. And, you'd hate to have somebody get it and then, have something blow up. But what I do with my iPhone is before I put it in the bag, I put it on airplane mode.
Yep. You don't have to do that. It will shut it down itself. It's almost like putting it in, better than putting it in airplane mode, I guess. So you don't need to turn a phone off. You don't need to make any kind of adjustment. You can literally just stick it in there.
But if it's on, isn't it trying to connect with an outside?
It can't get out. It's similar to the outside not getting in. Mm-hmm. It just, there's nowhere for it to go. It stays contained within the bag.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're good.
Oh, see. That was my big, really
yeah, no, you definitely do. It's not necessary to do that. It will block it.
Right. Now, what's the advantage of having a FARADAY? I know we can talk about some of your products, other things that you have. Excuse me. And what's the advantage of putting it over your computer?
If you wanted to, same thing. If your computer's on Wi-Fi, it's like your laptop, traveling with a laptop, or you're concerned about the Wi-Fi connection, it would be exactly the same reason as you put a phone in there. If you're traveling and you don't want someone getting access to it, or you're concerned about the same with the radio, electromagnetic frequency radiation.
But does it have to be completely, does it,
to cut it off, it really does. It can, if there's any kind of hole, I guess you would call it, like you're saying, like if a cable is coming out, that will compromise the shielding. It will still dampen the shielding. Like if you're just looking for some dampening to reduce the electromagnetic radiation, that's fine if it's open and you don't need to block the whole signal off. Like you're not worried about being tracked or whatever. So it would be okay to like leave the top open if you wanted or something like that.
Okay. Well, you got that. You're just going through my questions.
Oh, all right.
All right. So, not everybody understands what 5G is because, they're putting out the commercials that 5G, we can do everything and dance on the wind and be magical. Yeah. And it does. But they don't realize that 5G is actually a military weapon.
Yeah, it's a stronger signal and it packs more data, which is why people are excited about it, because they won't get their data, won't get throttled and they'll have more access. The data will be able to get through how it doesn't now. So yeah, it's definitely different, and we don't have a lot of health risk information. Like there's no, are there studies on it that are showing how that's going to affect people? So it's a concern.
Mm-hmm. And then I think in order for it to work, that the signals have to be like 50 feet away from each other.
Say that again. I'm sorry.
The oh God, whatever, the towers.
Oh, the cell towers?
Yeah, not the towers itself, but then they have little mini cell phone receptors.
Mm-hmm.
Those got to be like 50 feet apart, right,
Mm-hmm.
to work?
Yeah,
So
I'm not sure, but I do know you have to be close. They have to be closer because it's a stronger wave, but travels shorter distance.
And things block it off, like trees.
Yes, exactly. Windows, I think, even can block it.
Really?
I don't want to get too far out of I'm not an engineer, but I keep putting my engineer coworker in my head. Like, what are the...
Well, but and we drive around in our cars all the time. And, if they are going to, in Hawaii, the council has put it on hold until they can prove that there's no health risk.
Yep.
Yay, Hawaii, you did a good thing. Originally, I say if it's illogical, it's Hawaiian, but they did good this time. But if I was out on the mainland in some of the major cities that do have it hooked up, I would really consider, and I don't know, maybe you can tell me I'm really going overboard because I'm a Leo. If a little is good, a lot's got to be great. And I would want to put the Faraday covering on the roof.
Yeah.
And,
but I hear you.
Again, you wouldn't need it for the windows because the windows would block out that signal.
Yeah, the windows are. I wish I knew a little bit more about the electrical engineering side of it, because I'm recalling all the things my coworker says, but I don't want to misspeak. But yeah, it's definitely different from what we're used to. The frequency is different. The frequency bands, this is something that we discussed actually, are higher, like a cell and Wi-Fi are like 2.4 and 5 gigahertz or megahertz. And it's getting much, much higher in the US. They're looking at bands that are further up that are different from what we're using now. And they're running into some issues with it. And I'm not sure how to really describe it without my engineering hat on, but it's things we need more information. And like you said, as we're setting it up, like what's going to happen when these get set up, that kind of thing. So.
And, I've also been told that they can also beam the 5G down, which they do from satellites. And again, it's like, I think I want this covering. I might get some from you and figure out how to get it on the roof just cause.
Yeah. There are companies actually out there too that make, I've seen people, they make like a bed, almost not a tent for the bed, but something that you would kind of drape over your bed as you sleep. We've actually sold, I know we have Faraday tents, which are really,
those.
Yeah, those are mostly used for military and government because it's almost like setting up like a lab. So you can have like people in it and computers and do all of your forensics within this enclosed Faraday tent. And they're very, very expensive. So we don't usually have the consumer purchase it, but we did have a gentleman purchase it who had electromagnetic hypersensitivity, and he was sleeping in it and said it worked really well for him. So,
that I have a lot of activist friends, and a few of them been hit by the frequency machines the government has, and I can't remember what they're called. And after that, they've become very, 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 very electromagnetic sensitive.
Wow.
And they have to live out in the country away from any kind of Wi-Fi or any kind of signals, and it's really rough.
Yeah.
Or they get sick because it did that much damage to them.
Wow.
So and the tents are expensive.
Yeah.
Again, if it's going to give you relief and if it's going to protect you from and you would be able to go wherever you wanted to,
Yeah.
Because you had your own traveling home with the test.
I guess.
Yeah.
True.
Yeah. It might be a worthy investment. I laugh at people that live in trailers now because, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but most trailers are made out of aluminum.
That's true.
And aluminum blocks the frequency.
It should be all right.
And I know it gives new meaning to trailer trash, huh? You're now living in one of the most safest houses that there's out there. And I actually had a meter reader that would pick up frequencies, and I would go outside, and I lived in California, and it would go woo, and I would walk in my and I had a camper which is made out of aluminum, totally dead.
So you had your own Faraday cage you were living in.
Who knew? Honestly, who knew? And unless you've got one of those meters, who would think that you're living in something safe? Because
yeah, you're right. You don't know. We don't all normally have that access to that kind of equipment or know to purchase it. So it's interesting.
And it wasn't expensive. Trust me. It was like $50-$60.
Oh, wow.
But, it was amazing because I could go around and put it near all, and see what's coming out of the electrical outlets. Or, I have a 1,000-pound crystal that I'm around. And, I would go by that and everything would be dead. So I know, because I have a crystal store, and I don't know if you can see my Earth Keeper behind me.
I can.
She's over 1,000 pounds, and I have another 650 pounds, and I have a crystal store. So I'm not getting a lot of that energy.
That's great.
God. Okay.
Yeah.
But again, I wouldn't understand how safe it is if I didn't have that little tool.
Yep. Yeah.
Exactly. And then you go around your computer and see how much and how far the radiation comes off of, and the computer plugs and the wires.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It's all electricity. And
now I know you can't put a Faraday bag around that, but you can also, and this is improvising, take aluminum foil.
Yep.
And wrap that board, and that should protect you quite a bit.
Yeah, that's true. Aluminum. That's one of the things, like, people are like, oh, why do I need a Faraday bag? I can just wrap it in tinfoil. True, you can. These are just a really nicer way to deal with your phone rather than putting it in tinfoil, and a better solution. The fabric is quite good with the metallic, the copper and nickel inside. So, but we do get that sometimes.
Well, it's upgrading. Okay.
Yeah.
When I was in California, it was like, because I didn't know about Faraday material. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I would literally take aluminum foil and put that over the one wall that we were getting, the frequencies from. Yeah. But how much classier it would be to have the material.
Yep. Yeah. It's a little bit nicer to carry a phone, not in the tinfoil pouch.
And, for people that are out there, it might be worth it to you to take the material and actually create a safe room for yourself and your family, where when you're really being bombarded and all of a sudden everybody's getting headaches or you can't sleep, you can go into that room and it's a real safe space.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can purchase Faraday tape, same kind of conductive tape. So if you wanted to, tape pieces together, things like that, you can sew the material. You could fold over the edges and sew it, and then tape it. If you tape it to help with the punctures that happen from needles, so we have people who use it that way as well, make their own little pouches.
So the tape is kind of like Gorilla Tape.
Yeah, exactly. But it's got the same properties as the material.
Upgrade.
Yeah, upgrade. Exactly.
So what other Faraday products do you carry?
Well, we have the bags, the utility bag like you have, and then the off-grid line like I showed you earlier, We have that in all the sizes, the cell phone, tablet, which you also have, and then laptop size. This is really huge. This is our off-grid laptop, and it's a little beat up. I don't know if you can tell. I've had it at home while we've been kind of on, stay-at-home orders, and putting it through the ringer to see how much damage I can do to it before it'll stop working. Leaving it out in the sun, jumping around on it. So far, so good.
You didn't say you were also quality control.
Yeah, I'm testing it out. So yeah, they all come in those sizes. We actually make them with a window, which you can see here. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit different, and those are mostly sold mostly to law enforcement, but I'll show you how it works. You can see the phone inside the bag.
Oh.
So that's usually for law enforcement and military. They might want to see what devices they've put in a bag, just to be able to tell what the device is. Or you can, if you're careful, you can even do a little bit of manipulating of the phone, but it's a little bit tough. So we do have some consumers who purchase that too.
Well, I know on a little bag, there's a little place to put something.
Yep, you can put credit cards in there. Some people carry ID. We have something else that might be interesting, especially when people start traveling. So this is a data blocker.
Ooh.
It's used to put between your device, your phone, your laptop, and a charger. So airports, another issue. People will charge their phones and laptops, and there's something called juice jacking. It's a cyber attack that involves those charging ports. So malware can be installed there, and they can copy information from your device if you're just plugging straight into it.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's actually I think the Los Angeles DA or assistant DA put out a call not just a few months ago that was like, make sure you get something to put between your device and these untrusted chargers, basically just out in the. So all this does is it allows you to charge and just blocks the data ports, so no data can go back and forth.
Brilliant. And I mean, I'm in Hawaii. We never heard of that. Well, some people do, but I'm not in that loop. But again, who's been traveling a lot? But
right. Nobody's traveling now.
I can hear all the geeks going, oh my God, you
Yep.
know, and we really have to be careful with what we do because we don't know anymore how safe it is.
That's right.
And you're freaking me out. I'm going, it doesn't go and charge everything. That's the first thing you do when you get to the airport.
That's right.
Now, what about the little charge things that they have in the airplane?
Well, that's a good question. I'm assuming if it's the same, I've never actually charged anything on an airplane before. So if it's the same kind of plug, then it would be subject to the same issues for sure.
Wow. Well,
even like a friend's computer, you don't know if they've what's on their computer, but you might just want to plug your device into their computer to charge. It's just any sort of untrusted, unknown charging port.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. I think that's like a necessity and an accessory item we all should have.
Yeah, it's a good one. It's a nice little guy to carry. And we have a key fob bag as well for cars that are remote entry. Where you just walk up and touch the handle and the door opens. So those key fobs are continually putting out signals, just always. So what happens is criminals can get what's called, they can repeat the signal. There's some sort of device they can purchase. So there'll be, say, 2 of them, and your car's in your driveway and your key is hanging at the front door or in a dish, they can actually access the signal that's coming out of the key fob and open your door and start your car.
I'm manual. They have to work for mine.
It's crazy. I know. See, that's smart. You're good. And they've done it. They're online. You'll see videos of like Tesla being stolen by one of these criminal people just stealing cars. It's crazy what they're working hard to find ways to get at our stuff.
Well, I will say they're so big at that when it comes to my car, when it's all manual, they've forgotten how to do it. So they leave my car alone.
That's perfect. Good for you. Oh, yeah.
So, oh my God, you sound like my dad. He said that. You're channeling. Okay. So this is really cool because this is all practical application.
Yep.
That, it's really, we're in a new age.
Yeah, it is. And it's only going to get, there's only going to be more and more changes to devices and signals and what frequencies they're on and that kind of thing. And more people trying to figure out ways to get at those devices.
So what other cool stuff do you have?
I'm trying to think of what else we have. We have the other stuff that we have that's not consumer related it's all the digital forensics kind of equipment. So we have a piece of software that helps with evidence management. It's a camera and software that helps forensic examiners manage their evidence and stuff like that. We do have a duffel bags. We have two sizes of duffel bags. One's like a large, I didn't bring that with me. It's a little, maybe a 20 by 20 by 10. And I do have consumers purchasing that one because you can fit lots of stuff in there. So usually like if government's buying it, they're just putting a lot of devices in there. Or I've had people, I think, put their their PC towers in there too as well.
Let me ask you a question. When you go through the airport and you have your phone in the Faraday bag, do you have to take it out of the bag for them?
For the airport?
When you go through the X-ray and all that other crazy stuff.
No, you should be able to just let it go through in the bag because X-ray goes through the bag. They'd be able to see it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Should be fine.
Just curious. Like I said,
it's good to know.
Yeah.
Yeah, X-ray goes through. It'd have to be lead or something really, really heavy duty like that for an X-ray to be blocked.
Okay. All right. So if you want to be a private investigator, your little cool machine would be perfect.
That's right.
For all you guys who are looking for a new career. But the old Faraday, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't the first Faraday, wasn't it made all out of metal?
Definitely. Yeah.
Mesh wire?
Yes, it was mesh. That's right. That's absolutely right. Yep.
Okay. Yeah, you've come a long way.
Yep. Yeah, it's nice to have it's not bad. It was the 1800s, mid 1800s, I think. So we're good.
Well, I've heard about Faraday cages for a long time. And, for us to have one, it's not really practical.
Yeah. And these
Faraday
technically, these would be even considered a Faraday cage, so to speak. They are called that, cage or shield.
Well, again, I think like even your the cloth is so practical.
Yep, totally.
For those people that don't want to buy, like you said, they do have material and people actually sell Faraday clothing, but you could buy the cloth and have a favorite hat and line your own hat with the Faraday cloth and you'd be doing the same thing, right?
Yep.
Because I have to say, some of those hats they're selling, unless you like ball caps. They are really ugly.
No.
There's no fact with that.
I have some of the material here. I can show it. It's hard to see probably there, but it's quite thin. And it's not too stiff. It's pliable. So this is like a big 8-foot sheet that we sell.
Which, I'm a Leo. We love shiny things.
Yes, it's so pretty. Shiny gold. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool looking. It's a bonus.
Now, if you did outline your bedroom wall, could you put a picture over it? To kind of, do you have to?
If you're nailing something through it, through the material, you just have to be careful. That might be a place for some tape, some Faraday tape, so that you could really get around that area where the nail's gone through.
Okay, but the picture itself wouldn't block the Faraday from doing its job.
No, it shouldn't. A picture frame would be.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm thinking, it's a solid object. Would that interfere?
Yeah, it shouldn't. No, I'm sure my coworker is gonna give me some and more information. So I'm gonna apologize ahead of time for any information that I may have when it gets to the science part.
You're doing awesome, and it's learned by doing sometimes.
Yep. Yeah, exactly.
We teach what we need most to learn.
That's
and
I like that.
You had to go through a little crayon jam, and you are so much the wiser now, right?
That's right. I do know a lot.
So if you're really careful with the Faraday bag and normal wear and tear, how long do you think they would last? Years?
Yeah, at least 2 years. Things that you worry about are, again, the wear and tear, and then that has the potential of the material to oxidize because it is metallic in there. But we've had people with bags for years and they've been fine.
If they do get wet, I'm not saying it will, but yeah. Okay. Will it still work after it dries out?
It should. The oxidation issue might be a problem. I would, the way you can tell if the material darkens quite a bit, it just stops looking like shiny and gets dark. That can be a sign. Yeah, that can be a sign. It's hard to tell there, but I had a gentleman return one recently. He had an old one, and he's like, "Oh yeah, it's not really working." And I wanted to see what was going on, and it was definitely like it had just worn, and then he'd had it for a few years, and so the material had darkened, and so that can, and so sometimes it was working, sometimes it wasn't, so it was just starting to like compromise the shielding a little bit.
Well, that's you need a new one.
Yep.
It rings, it's in the bag.
Yep. Yeah, the off-grid one will stand up a little better to that, just because it's waterproof, the water resistance of the thermal welding, and the additional layer we kind of put in there helps maintain the integrity of the material underneath too. So that's also an option.
Wow. So if people want to get a hold of you and buy your products, how do they do that? And I know they can get some stuff through me.
Yes, absolutely. Through Cathy. If you can also go to our website, which is edecdf.com. That's EDEC, D like David, F like Frank. So EDEC Digital Forensics.com. And you can also call us. Our information's on the website, our contact info there, but it's 805-222-4584 is our phone number if you prefer to call and not go to the website.
And guys, I am always ahead of the curve. You guys are really ahead of the curve, but most people don't know what a Faraday bag is.
Yep.
So, if you are done with radiation and you don't want to be trapped, for God's sake, or if you're electromagnetic sensitive, you might want to start giving this a thought. And my God, if you really do have electromagnetic sensitivity, you really might want to think about putting the money out there for a tent, because you can even set the tent up in your bedroom or wherever.
Indoors.
And again, have tent will travel.
Yeah.
But again, I know a lot of people that are electromagnetic sensitive, and they do a lot of travel, and they have a very difficult time being in the cities and around the 5G, around, so it's a challenge for them to be off grid. And, this may give them a whole new direction and open up all kinds of new possibilities now that they can do where they couldn't without this.
Yep. Great.
I know, you should hire me, right?
Yes. Hire.
Right.
Thank you so much for having me on. I really appreciate it. It's really nice to be able to speak to you and to your listeners and talk a little bit about what we do.
I've enjoyed it. The time has gone by really, really fast. It's been very informative. Again, if you're an activist, you might want to check this out. It might be for your own benefit.
Sure.
If you're private, again, this is another alternative that you have. And it gives you a little bit more control of your life.
Absolutely. Yeah. And when you speak of activists, it's making me think of anyone who's protesting. It's important because there's what's called geofencing, where they can access, kind of blanket an area, and then pull your cell phone information. And sometimes, like if you went to a concert, they might market to you. You might start getting like marketing stuff. But at a protest, you might not want people to know who you are and why you're at that protest or something like that. So the Faraday bag is really valuable there too.
Wow. I'm sure that's something else people don't think about.
Yep. Nope.
I mean, you just go out there and you're out there to do it. But, and I don't want everybody to know where I am. And the least information I can get out there, especially to the police, who are not asking for my permission.
That's right. Yeah, they can just get the data off your phone. It's crazy. Or get your IMEI numbers, just phone identification.
Yep. So again, guys, this is another alternative. And, this is a great company that has the foresight to put together some really great products that's for our practical use.
Yep.
Well, on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much. Unless you got anything else you want to wind up saying.
I don't. I think we covered it all. Thank you again for having me. It's been a pleasure.
And the engineer should be proud. Okay.
All right. I'll check in with him. I think he probably was listening. Thank you so much, Cathy.
Okay. All right. Good night. And
Good night.
Maybe we'll do this again.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, guys. That was incredible, at least I thought, and I learned a lot more than I did before, and to be a lot more cautious than I ever have. And, thought about things I never would have dreamed of, especially traveling and airports and even protesting, on what they can pull from you. And also, how to protect yourselves. And if you're electromagnetic sensitive, this is it, guys. You might want to do some checking and do some investing. Next week, I'm going to have a wonderful woman that's actually a Hiroshima survivor, nuclear bombs. And we're going to talk about what's happening right now in the nuclear industry and some of just that kind of awareness, because we've forgotten. I think it's interesting that all of a sudden all deaths are COVID-19 related when it didn't used to be that. If you die in the hospital from a heart attack, it's not natural causes anymore, or even radiation that's accumulated in your body. Nobody talks about that anymore, and it's definitely affecting us. So with that in mind, all I can say, guys, is, keep up your vitamins, keep up your minerals, do what you have to for your health. Go get a reverse osmosis water purifier, and an air purifier definitely is needed. And unfortunately, we need all this stuff to be healthier. I mean, you can go without it to survive. But guys, your life will be much better if you have that little accessory toy items. And do I have them? Yes, I do. I've been having a lot of issues lately with Trump supporters, and I realize that the more I talk with them, the more the word oxymoron comes up. And if you don't know what that means, go look it up, go Google it. It means opposites put together. Okay, an oxymoron for a Trump supporter would be, I support Trump, but I'm also willing to work with anybody who's a light worker and works in love. Not reality. You cannot support a Nazi and support that satanic energy and then turn around and go, okay, I'm going to work with light now. Thanks. I'm not interested. Not until you shift. And truthfully, anybody that supports Trump, you are a Nazi collaborator. Ooh, bad words, huh? Truth hurts. If the shoe fits, wear it. Trump is a Nazi. You support Trump, you're supporting Nazis. And in World War II, that meant you supported Hitler. You were a Nazi collaborator. And in this life, Trump is a Nazi. He's a white racist Nazi. You support him, you are a Nazi collaborator. So think about what you're doing. And if that makes you mad, I don't care. I don't mind stepping on the toes of racist Nazis and blocking their magic. You have to stand firm against these people. If not, they will run right over you. And playing the airy-fairy, oh my God, I'm going to love everybody and have absolutely nothing to do with politics is bullshit. Anything about Trump